Hey guys, welcome back. This is another video in CSS Selector series, and in this video we will understand how to use CSS Selector with attribute. If any element has any attribute such as name, type, spaceholder, data test ID, etc., then you can easily use attribute in CSS Selector to locate your element. And what is the syntax for this? We have to mention tag name, square bracket, attribute equals to value. So what is the attribute here? It can be a value, type, name, etc. And it is best to select an attribute with the value that is uniquely identify the accessed web element. And this value field is the value which is being accessed at the time of using a particular attribute, and that's value should not be dynamic, it should be static, so that it should be same every time when you are trying to access that element. Otherwise, if value keep changing every time, it will not work. It will, so it might be possible at the time of writing your script the value was something else, and when you executed your test case the value got changed. In that case it will not be able to find out your element. So we have to make sure whatever attribute we choose, the value should remain same every time. This is the screenshot of a HTML DOM. I have captured a elements attribute here. As you can see it here, the tag is input. It is having different attributes such as ID, type, name, area required, all these things. Right? If you see it here, ID is dynamic. It will change every time. It is not a static value. Then we can make use of name. Right? So if we use this element, what would be our syntax with this name attribute? It would be tag name. Tag name is input. So we will mention input here, square bracket, attribute. We are choosing name as attribute and the value of the name. So this would be our syntax. Let's see this on a web page. I have opened a Salesforce application, and we will try to locate couple of elements with the help of attribute here. I will inspect first name. So as you can see it here, first name is an input element, and it is having attribute as type, name, and there are couple of other attributes. So let's try to use name here. I will press Ctrl F. I will type tag name. Tag name is input, square bracket, opening square bracket and closing, and then the name of the attribute. What is our attribute name? It's name, and then its value. You can see it here, the value is unique, or I will type, then I will show you. This value we need to put inside this single quote, and you can see it here, it is showing 1 of 1. As I mentioned, we should choose the attribute which will keep the same value every time. For example, if you are seeing this ID, right now it is having value as user first name hyphen uqqb. And if I refresh this page and if I inspect this element again, you can see it here, this value got changed. So we should choose an element which will have the same value every time. That's why we have chosen name, because you can see it here, the value is user first name, and it will be user first name every time. Even if I refresh this page again, it will still have the same value. The value which keeps changing, those element we call it as dynamic element. Right? You can see it here, it is still having the same value. That's why we choose name as an attribute. Let's try to inspect any another element. We have this last name, and if I use last name in the properties, in the value, it is showing 1 of 1. So we are able to locate last name, we are able to locate first name with the help of name attribute. Sometimes it is possible that we are not able to locate a element with a single attribute. That time we can use more than one attribute. For example, it is having a attribute as type as well. If I use type equals to text, it is showing 1 of 5. Let's see the first name, last name, company. There are more, right? So we cannot locate our element as there are 5 elements present on this screen with the type as text. We have to add one more attribute. So we will add one more square bracket, opening square bracket and closing one, and then give any another value, or give mention any another attribute. I will make use of name, user first name. I will mention its value, and you can see it here. It is showing 1 of 1. So we can use more than one attribute to locate an element. Similarly, let's try to inspect this company. It's an input element, and for instance, I'm making use of type equals to text. Then I need to make use of any another attribute. I will use name as company name. I will add one more here. I will add one more attribute here. Name equals to company name. Or if you wanted to use placeholder, you can add the placeholder as well. If I change it to placeholder, there is some mistake, I think. Okay, placeholder is company. You can use any attribute. It's not necessary that you have to use name. Other than name, if you have any attribute which is unique, you can make use of it. So now we will implement this in our code. I have already created a CSS selector class. I have created a driver instance. I will open the URL, driver dot get URL, and I will mention the URL. And then I will maximize it. Driver dot manage dot windows dot maximize. And then I will find out my element. I will use driver dot find element. Driver dot find element by dot CSS selector, because we are using CSS selector right now. And if we were using XPath, we had to mention by dot XPath, or if we were using ID or class, we would have used by dot ID or by dot class. So first, what we will do, we will enter a value in first name. I will inspect this again. User first name is the value. I will use name as the attribute, and I will mention its value. It is giving us 1 of 1 element, so I will use this expression. And then dot send keys, we will enter some value. I will enter automation rail, which is my channel name. And then I will copy paste this statement. We will enter a value in last name. I will use more than one property. I will add one more here. Type equals to text, and name as last name, user last name. It is showing one of one. So I will copy this one as well. Then we will try to enter something in company as well. Then we'll use another property placeholder. Placeholder. Value is company. I will replace this value and you can see it here. It is showing one of one. I will copy this CSS. I will copy this CSS. I will paste it here and I will mention something in that. Let's execute this code. It has launched the driver. It has opened the URL. Now it will maximize the browser. And you can see it here. It has entered first name, last name, and company. So in this video, we learned how to use CSS attribute in CSS Selector. Remember to practice and experiment CSS Selector on different type of element. We will learn another type of CSS Selector in next video. Till then, happy learning.